Okay, so one of the videos I did also got a lot of comments, which was really cool to see those comments. But I could tell there's a lot of discussion, so we're going to talk today about who is the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is a monk from Tibet. He was born up in the northern parts of what we would call Tibet, the Tibetan outline, a northern part right near the Chinese border. That area now is called the Tibetan Autonomous Region by the Chinese government, who took it over in the late 50s, early 60s. And he had to obviously leave that area and move to India, to where he could stay peacefully and stay without being put in prison, which probably would have happened if he remained in Tibet. Now, born July 6th, which his birthday is coming up, 1935, and he was found out as the rebirth of the previous Lama. Okay, in that system is about 1,400 years of repeated lamas being reborn or reincarnated. Actually, we see this in Tibetan Buddhism, and he was discovered at about the age of 2, where he was then taken and brought back to Lhasa in Tibet, and he was raised as the 14th Dalai Lama. So there's been 13 guys before him, and most of them lived quite long. So it's quite a long time, about 1,300 years, something like that. And one of the things that happened with him is, as he grew and became educated in Tibet, he was educated as the political leader and the spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. Okay, he's the Dalai Lama. He's the top one on there. However, in 2011, I think he did retire from being the political leader of Tibet, and was going to focus more on his spiritual development, which is what he's done. He became the leader of Tibet at a very young age, and he was put up against the leaders of China at the time, Mao Zedong. Okay, he was just thrown into this kind of stuff, the poor guy, and he became very savvy, very quick. Now, he's considered the reincarnation of the rebirth of Avalokitesvara, which is like Guan Yin. Okay, Guan Yin is a deity in Buddhism. We see as the ultimate example of compassion. Sometimes it's shown as a female, sometimes as a male. It depends on when you look at that and stuff. Now, remember, Buddhism is very, very complex. And the Dalai Lama is the leader of a very specific part of Buddhism, not all of Buddhism. So if you go to anywhere in Southeast Asia, he's not seen as their leader of any Buddhist monks or nuns or whatever, what have you. He's seen as a very high and respected elder monk, of course, and as the Dalai Lama, His Holiness. He's not seen as the leader of Japanese Buddhism, not the leader of Zen Buddhism. He's not the leader of Chan Buddhism. He's not the leader of Mahayana, Pure Land, or Theravada Buddhism in any way, shape, or form. Son Buddhism, you pick any of these different kinds. He's seen as a respected teacher, but he's not their leader. So he does hold lineage, or valued teacher and a valued person in some of the other groups in Vajrayana, which comes from Tibet. Okay, that's the whole area up there, but he's not the one leader. So this is one of the things that happens, is people commonly, like I've seen, especially people who have no idea who the Dalai Lama is, they'll come and ask and see if he's like the Pope, not the Pope for Catholicism. Now, obviously, the Pope, totally different animals, right? They're totally different things, but people have to come from some reference point, and their reference point is through Catholicism or Christianity, which is, in the West anyway, far more up front. We see it a lot more. Now, when they see the Dalai Lama, they see him on pictures of Time magazine and People magazine and all these magazines and all these documentaries and stuff, he's always shown as the leader of Buddhism. Now, if you start looking for leaders in Buddhism, you're going to see it's a huge ball of tangled wire, because there's not just Vajrayana, Theravada, Mahayana, and Zen. You could go crazy after that. There's so many aspects of Theravada and Mahayana and Vajrayana and Zen, and there's other sub-groups and sub-subgroups and branches of those groups and modern groups and all of these different kinds of things. So you're going to become very, very confused, like I did. And one of the things that we also want to look at, I wanted to do, and I'm going to work on, kind of like the current leaders. Now, if you look up the current leaders in Buddhism, you're going to find mostly they speak of Vajrayana leaders, because I guess they're just more documented. I don't know, but we have patriarchs in Cambodia, and we have patriarchs in Thailand and Vietnam and Burma and Sri Lanka, and these are the leaders of that group of Buddhists in that country. So we have country leaders that are or cultural Buddhist leaders, I guess you would say. And then you go to the West, it's a completely different group. And then most people want to go back in time and talk about the original leaders, such as the Bodhidharma or Dzogchen or something, Dogen or whatever. These different original leaders, I suppose you would call them. So it's a difficult process to see with what the Dalai Lama is and how he is. Now, in 1990, Tibetan government was democratized, but not in Tibet. So he's run the Tibetan government, or the democratic process of Tibet, from outside of Tibet, and China ran what's going on in Tibet, and China still runs what's going on in Tibet. There's a lot of argument on that. Actually, if you look up Tibet, you don't even find it on maps anymore, which is weird, because I remember seeing it on maps, I know for sure. And now it's called the Tibetan Autonomous Regions, or it has different names by the Chinese government, and the Chinese government considers it a part of China and not a part of its own self. It's not its own independent ruling body at all. Now, but the Tibetan people still see the Dalai Lama as the ruler or the leader of that process. However, he did retire from that in 2011, decided he was just going to do more of his spiritual stuff, which was probably better for him because it was less stressful. And also, as a person that has met many times with like the United Nations and other countries, he found that like if he works on this process of being more introspective and spiritual and working with that part of human consciousness and human reality, that maybe he could change more people that way. And that's one of the reasons I think he did, or is doing, this transmission online of empowerment. Now, some people have also said you don't have to do it in person, but you're like one-on-one, but you should do it in person. I mean, like, does that really, I don't know if that really, I mean, I get it counts, I suppose, but is it really the same as saying I met with the Dalai Lama when I only saw him in a stadium with 50,000 other people, or 20,000, whatever it is, right? Is that the same? No, I don't think so. We had a conversation, is him talking and me listening and me somewhere way out in a crowd, agreeing with him? Is that a conversation? No, it's not. So it's difficult for us to get into that process of what is the real teaching, right? And this is what one of the other monks, which I did another discussion on, another Lama, decided that, hey, the Dalai Lama shouldn't do this kind of thing online because it degrades the purity or the process that we're going through to give personal empowerments. And not that I agree or disagree. I mean, the Dalai Lama can do what he wants. I mean, he does what he wants. He decides, doesn't he? I mean, I decide how I do things. You decide how you do things. I think he's probably one of the most foremost thinking, I don't know how you would call him, like influences in the world today. And I really hope that people see that and people use that, and maybe more people should get the empowerments online. If we do it online, or do it through Skype or something like that, that's going to be the modern way things are done, right? I mean, this is they argued over if they should write things down in the first Congress after the Buddha had died. They also changed it, like, should we change it this way or should we change it that way? What should we do? How should we organize these things? This was the change between Mahayana and what was called Hinayana, and remember Theravada, and all these different kind of things. This was where these things were discussed and hashed out. Now, if you notice, there is not one kind of Buddhism. There never has been. Well, there has been, I guess, when the Buddha was alive. But after that, it split off drastically. I was trying to look at just some of the top 10, for example, leaders in Buddhism today, and you can't find 10. You'll find 1,000. there's so many, and it depends on what point you're looking at. It's like saying I'm looking for the tallest tree on a mountain, but it depends on where on the mountain you're standing, down at the bottom, around, looking up at the peak to see which of the trees. You're on one side totally different from the other side, they may be the exact same size and all this kind of thing. It does depend on what you decide as your type of Buddhism you wish to follow. I mean, everybody's going to say they have the best one, they have the original one, but as you start looking into it, you see that really doesn't pan through. Anyway, this is Rev Sean over at the Centered Path. Thanks for walking with me. And this is just kind of a little, like, postscript to another video that I did, which I will tag right up here, or up here, whatever, one of these two places. And so go ahead and watch that one and see the context for this one. I'll try and edit that one where I put this one in there, the response, I should say. So hopefully it didn't make everybody flip out like the other one did, because they're so stuck in a perspective and attached to a way of being, which I don't think the Buddha or the Dalai Lama would really go for. Anyway, this is Rev Sean. I hope you guys are doing well. You know what? Hey, may the Dalai Lama live happy, long life. May you too.